Today I'm sharing Halloween decor on a budget using thrifty finds and simple DIY ideas that are too cute to spook. Welcome to the Chic Show. Today's playlist is hosted by Jody at Southern Seasons, Indiana Jones, Shabby Meets Bling, and Up All Night DIY. See what we can do with a thrifted plate and a napkin from Home Goods. I removed all plies from the napkin except for the very top one, and then I cut out just one of the images. Using a wet paintbrush, I'm going to go around the image and then tear back that napkin to leave a jagged edge. Because I'm going to be decoupaging this napkin onto the plate, these jagged edges won't show quite as much as a straight edge would. Since a napkin is very, very thin, I'm going to be using a thinner decoupage medium, which is liquid patina by DIY. It's thinner than Mod Podge and will work better with this napkin. Once I make a little starter strip, then I'm going to paint over the top as well, and then I'll continue adding that liquid patina under the rest of the napkin and on top. Let me know what you think about this little witchy woman. These are some wood cedar chips that I had in my stash. I believe I thrifted them somewhere. And here I have glued 3 together, and I'm using sweet potato milk paint to paint the little pumpkin that I've created out of these little slices. I then painted one of those slices white. And lastly, I painted one in green. This is, I believe, Celery by Waverly. I created a little witch hat using some popsicle sticks. One was a smaller one and one was a larger one, and I just trimmed that and glued it together in the shape of a witch hat. Now I'm giving it a coat of Waverly chalk paint in ink. Once it was dry, I used some Titebond Quick and Thick to glue my hat to the top of the green slice. I also used a little bit of hot glue so that it would have an immediate hold. I also glued on a little stem for my pumpkin. And I painted this sign from Dollar General that I got on clearance with Waverly chalk paint in ink. While that sign dries, I'm going to give my little ghost some eyes. And once the sign is dry, I'm going to give it a coat of Mod Podge. I sanded around the edges of each of my little pieces, my pumpkin, my ghost, and my witch. I'm going to cover my sign with this Roycycle decoupage paper. It was from one of Sonnet's Maker's boxes from last year. I cut it a little bit bigger than the actual sign so that I can sand away the excess, and I'm using the iron-on method. So usually I start in the middle and work from the inside out, and I always try to make sure to get the edges so that the paper does not lift. I created some hair for my witch by gluing together 3 pieces of this black jute twine, and I'm just going to use my little Cricut picker here and spray each piece. I used hot glue to glue the hair to the top of the wood slice. And then I glued the hat on as well as a little green nose. This is just a half bead from my stash that I painted in that same green color. Now that the Mod Podge is dry, I'm going to sand around the edges of my sign to remove any of the excess paper. I arranged all my little characters onto the front. I played with different arrangements until I came up with one that I was happy with. Once I'm ready, I use Titebond Quick and Thick to glue each of these little pieces to the sign. I did also use a little bit of hot glue on each one just to give it that immediate hold. I decided the ghost was a little too white, so I took a little bit of antique wax and dirtied him up a bit. I would love to know what you think about this little witch and her crew. This is one of the Painted Photographer's rice papers from Sonnet's Maker's Box from last year. I'm going to be using one of these little witch images. I'm pairing it with one of this year's IOD snow globes molds. I coated the back of the snow globe with Mod Podge, and then I will place my image down onto the globe. I did give it a little spritz of water before laying it into that wet Mod Podge. Once I have it in place, I give it another coat of Mod Podge on the back. Until that Mod Podge completely dries, it does give it kind of a hazy look, but it will dry and will be clear. Once it's dry, I'm going to paint over the back of the image using white chalk paint. This is Waverly Snow White. This will allow the colors of the decoupage paper to really pop on the front. Once that Mod Podge is dry, I'm going to go back with some Fusion paint in coal black, and I'm going to paint the bottom part of this globe. Now I'll dry brush over the bottom part of the globe using some gold leaf rub and buff. I love to use black underneath my rub and buff. It just gives it a nice antique brass look. With a very small brush and a very gentle hand, I'm going to take that black paint and go around the edge of the snow globe. And just like the bottom, I'll add a little bit of that gold leaf on top. I chose to add my little witch globe to the front of one of these Dollar Tree mirrors. Now, I didn't want to glue it on the mirror because I want to be able to change it out for the season. So I used some of the sticky back Velcro and just stuck it right down to the frame. Let's take a look back at all three projects. I hope these ideas for Halloween decor on a budget with thrifty finds inspired you to create spooky style without overspending. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And for more budget-friendly ideas, watch the playlist or this video right here. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.